Hello, my name is Bianca Green, and I'm going to be representing Dr. Gordon Allport in today's debate. I was born in Montezuma, Indiana, and I was the youngest of four sons. My father moved us to Ohio, where he was a doctor. So I grew up interested in helping others. And my mom was a teacher. She was very forceful, very strict, very, didn't let us do very much when growing up. And my debate question today is, do our past experiences affect our conscious and current experiences? There are different ways in which people react to situations, even when put through identical situations. Perception of a situation has a lot to do with this, but also because every individual is just that, individual. Choice is what one has at the end of the day to change reactions or behavior or outcomes. I believe that traits are passed down from generations, which can also influence how one reacts. There are different levels of traits that are passed down, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Personal growth is what my focus was on for individuals. I helped my patients move forward. I helped them sort of not focus on how they grew up or what happened to them in the past, in order for them to reach the psychological health that they need in order to grow and reach their goals in life. Personal growth begins with choosing to let go of the past that may have influenced how one reacts or thinks. In order to reach the psychological health, we must have personal growth, which has a lot to do with our goals that we would like to reach. And the personality traits can also help predict our behaviors, but not anything that has to do with morality, since moral beliefs have a lot to do with culture and religion. And a lot of times, because some people may change their religion, or they may move from one culture area to another where they're not where the whole entire group is not following that type of culture, it may change their behavior or views or perceptions and beliefs. So I don't believe we can actually predict those behaviors. But my focus was not to fix an individual, it was to help individuals understand themselves and help them to move forward. The traits that I was talking about, the trait levels, are the cardinal, the central, and the secondary traits. Cardinal traits show up in almost everything a person does. This can also be known as an individual's passion. This is what most friends or family of individuals can say about a person, and how they are at all times. There's really nothing that changes about an individual from one situation to another. Cardinal traits, these are common traits that are not only of one individual. These are more common in more than one individual. But these can show up in many people, such as kindness, vindictiveness, shyness, etc. But secondary traits, these are traits that show up only in certain types of situations. Someone can be outgoing at a friend-to-friend or 2 to 3 person group, and then be totally shy in the next situation. In the circumstances that they might be in or be put in, these secondary traits might show up. Even if someone were in a vehicle accident, then they might not always be angry people, but they might be disappointed, which then some sort of trait shows up that people would be like, wow, I've never seen them act this way or react this way to situations. So the circumstances can change these traits that show up. But my personality theory, I believe, is a way that we can lessen human suffering, um, the trait theory, because then we can understand individuals and we can help them understand why they behave in certain manners rather than, I'm sorry, how they behave rather than why. Um, and show them both how and why because of their traits, but they can also make their own choices. Their past and their influenced by their traits their choices can change, so it can change those traits a little bit. Anger, a parent or a grandparent might have been an angry person and they showed that in their personality, and the individual in the present situation does not have to react that way. They might have that show up in certain situations, but they do not have to react that way. They can make a different choice at the time. It may be hard for that individual to make that choice, or to, create a habit, sort of, for reacting differently, but they still have that choice. I do not want to fix individuals, but rather help them understand their individuality. My theory was based on research, which I would use patients to help me see what the individual was thinking, excuse me, and I would try to help them move on and move forward and see the past does not have to define them. They can make their own choices to make changes in their life's outcome. I think for those that suffer with their psychological health, a lot has to do with how they grew up. But there is proof that many individuals having suffered in their past have made their own outcomes positive. That tells me understanding one is their own individual based on current context and conscious thought. That would help reduce present psychological unhealthiness. Individuals are ever changing beginning from birth, which allows for psychological health on different levels, and that's where the trait theory comes in. Because personality has traits that are passed down with which we can describe a child. Then some of those may fade away, some of those traits, as a toddler. An infant goes from an infant to a toddler, then from toddler to adolescence, and then to adult. So those traits that may be in them as a child may fade away, and yes, they may show up later on in life, but they may fade away as they grow physically and change physically. Choices are different at the various stages of physical growth, as well as learned behaviors, which can influence the choices and behaviors based on culture or religion. A toddler wants to learn about their environment and everything that is in it, so it causes choices. Obviously, at that age, they cannot make thought out choices, and if they do, then that means that they're learning about their environment. But they might have to go through certain things more than once in order to actually remember the outcome of those situations. So then even then it shows us that children can make choices, individual choices. So what happened during the toddler age may affect how one makes choices, but does not necessarily mean that an individual must always think about the past in their current experiences and make choices based on that. It does not have to define our outcome. Psychological maturity is what one has to reach in order to achieve psychological health. The theory that I most disagree with is psychoanalysis. I once met Dr. Freud, and I was so excited to meet him. It was soon after I graduated But when I met him, I asked him a question about a boy that I had met on a train. He turned it around and asked me if I was the boy. Um, and it didn't set well with me. Of course, I was not the boy, but I realized then that psychoanalysis goes way too deep and dismisses the current motivations, intentions, and experiences of an individual. I'm not saying that the past does not have an effect on the current. What I'm saying is that it does not have to be the only reason for why one does what one does in the current moment. The theories based on the subconscious and the unconscious, I feel, overlook the conscious and immediate experiences. So, with my theory, I help many individuals just realize who they are as individuals, why they may have certain, um, how, why they may react differently, and I help them move forward versus trying to focus on their unconscious and why they do stuff, I'm not trying to tell them that they're doing it subconsciously or unconsciously. I'm working with the present situation and the current context of their life so that they may reach that. And thank you. And I can't wait to hear the rest